Well, good morning, you sexy mother hubbards. China are spying on and hacking into us, and everyone's really mad about it because that is GCHQ's job. Meanwhile, Labour's VAT on private school fees is really unfair because we're just trying to buy privilege. It's time for an alternative paper review. First up to the Mirror this morning, who decry the loss and savaging of the UK's pub industry. This is a story that one of the UK's finest traditions, the public house, or nightlife in general, pubs, bars, restaurants, they are struggling to meet these challenges that they're being served up on multiple fronts. You've got Brexit impacting staffing availability and cost. You've got inflation making food and drink cost more. Then you've got higher energy bills inside the pub. Then you've got your actual customers who just don't have any money anymore. Plus, if you've got any mortgages or loans out on the property, they've probably doubled.
I mean, if you want an actual glimpse of what the real underlying issue is with the pub industry, really, if you cast your mind back to like the late 90s, when I was at university, a pint then cost about £2.20.
And yes, wages and salaries were less back then, but not that much less, you know? Like the proportion of your weekly take-home pay that you could allocate to like 2 or 3 pints out on a Friday night, that was just infinitely more affordable back then. But as the comparative cost of beer has increased versus your take-home pay, as has everything else from, you know, rent to mortgages to electricity bills. Basically, we're now at a point where everything has slowly eaten into our disposable income in the average UK salary. And now it's like, you know, look back to 98. The bars were packed with students who were broke all night, every night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all through the weekend, people are out getting hammered. Now, the bars are empty. Even people in my age bracket on my salary are like $6.50 a pint all night. Yeah, no, I'll probably just stay in.
This is why, like, if you look back at old videos of the 90s now, if you've got, like, your Gen Z cousin or nephew to look back at old 90s videos, it's like the Spice Girls having a good time, dancing, singing. It's Chris Evans on TFI Friday having a few beers.
Like, your nephew would be like, everyone seems so drunk all the time. Everyone seems so happy. Why was everyone so happy?
And you could be like, yeah, because we still had social mobility then. We were celebrating.
I was talking to my mate's kid the other day. I was like, yeah, do you know, this will blow your mind. Do you know, when you used to Google for a pub that's close to you, you would type in, like, pub, close, and it would show you, like, a map with loads of pubs that are nearby to you. These days, you type in pub, close, it thinks you mean pub, close. Like, oh, you want some pubs that are closed? Yeah, like you get a load of news articles of sad middle-aged couples stood outside a boarded-up Nag's Head trying to get it redeclared as a heritage site because Blur played there once. Over to the Sun now. China hack attack on UK. Holy sheesh cow. Yep, this is a story that China are alleged to have hacked into the Electoral Commission and stolen the records and details of 40 million UK voters. Right. So they hacked in and stole our data from the Electoral Commission, is what we're saying. Yeah, that's right. They hacked into the EC to get it. So not TikTok. Got it. So, in case you need a recap, we've now had 2 spies allegedly working for the Chinese state in our parliament. We've had Rishi Sunak's car allegedly installed with bugs by the Chinese state. We're now saying they might have hacked into the Electoral Commission to steal our data.
Again, not through TikTok, which is weird, isn't it? You would think they would go through this malicious, nefarious app through our phones and everything, get all of our data that way, but apparently not.
And now there's even talk that they might have been responsible for just... Prepare yourselves. China and Russia behind slurs on princess. Right. It was China, was it? Yeah, I think it was China. It was China that were responsible for all of the bad PR. Right, so they doctored a photo, they tried to pass it off as an original, they took control of the Kensington Palace Twitter account and made the royals make themselves look like silly billies. Well, they really are masters of espionage, aren't they? I have to say, I am really enjoying this final episode in the box set of Geopolitics.
All of this worrying about what China may or may not be up to. You know, like, I mean, they're a major player geopolitically, so they probably are spying. They probably are up to all kinds of weird and wonderful shit. But, firstly, we are too.
And secondly, doesn't it make the journalists at The Sun and The Telegraph embarrassed that they spent so long banging the drum about the evil foreign entity that is the EU? Because these are the same papers who were demonising Brussels. You know, all of that talk, I don't want to be controlled by Germans. My grandfather wasn't controlled by Germans.
I mean, what did the EU even do? Like, oh, they were thinking of creating their own army, were they? Oh, well, what a silly idea that was.
Because now where are we? Worrying about Putin, wondering who he might invade next, regretting that maybe in retrospect, an EU army would have been a good idea.
And sort of worrying about China and China's spying and bugging and what they might be up to on Twitter and all that. Could you imagine the uproar if it turned out that the EU had bugged Sunak's car? Would that disappear from page 2 almost immediately?
If the EU had put a couple of spies in our parliament, people would be like, oh my goodness, this is war. Rev up the Spitfires.
But if China get up to something, it's like, well, we're gonna keep an eye on these guys.
Finally, the Telegraph are worried that the majority of private schools will probably raise their fees if or when Labour bring in VAT. Now look, just for the people at the back who haven't tuned into the podcast, who haven't heard me say this stuff before, I'll go through it again quickly. If you can't afford an extra £350 a month versus the 15 grand a year you're probably paying on fees already, here's what you do. You go up to the headmaster's office, you knock on the door and you say, please, oh please, can my son stay here for free? Because they're charities, aren't they? These private schools, they're just charities. The second option you have, if you can't afford an extra £350 a month, guys, I'll give you the same advice that Rishi Sunak gave me when my mortgage doubled. Ready? Hold your nerve.
Finally, can we stop pretending that it's unfair putting VAT on private school fees? If you're paying for the education of your son or daughter to lift them out of comprehensive like normal state school education, that is a luxury premium product and is absolutely within scope of a value-added tax.
And lastly, if you're going to rant about what is or is not fair, like if you're going to grandstand about something, please, for God's sake, don't pretend that adding VAT onto private school fees is somehow unfair, when the thing that you're paying for is privilege. You sound ridiculous.